Hi kids, this is Teacher May, your teacher for today. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for the latest videos. Before we start our new lesson, let's have a short review. Share your thoughts. Explain, share your thoughts about this quotation. If we are to preserve culture, we must continue to create it. By Johann Huizinga. Alright class, I want each of you to think of one culture that you'd really like to preserve. Can you tell me what the culture is and how you would go about keeping it alive? What type of art form would you choose to help make that culture special and lasting? Now, I want to share an example of a culture that we don't see much anymore. It could be something from our community, like an old recipe, a traditional game that we don't play anymore, a forgotten way of doing things, or even a native song that isn't sung anymore. After I share this, I'd like you to think about what you could have done to help save it. I tell, you imagine. Today, we're going to explore how we can tell stories using different art forms. I will be telling you a story and I want you to use your imagination to picture everything that's happening. Our main focus will be on local folklore and legends, which will connect all of our storytelling. As I share the story, I'd like you to close your eyes and really think about what you're hearing. However, every now and then, I want you to open your eyes and look at me. This will help you better visualize the story as we go along. Let's dive in. The Kapampangan Legend of Mount Arayat. Once upon a time, Mount Arayat was not where it stands now. It was located far away near the present town of Candaba. One day, while some giants were holding a contest to show their different abilities, the strong one said, "Now, I will show you what I can do." He then got hold of the mountain and pulled it out by its foundations and carried it to the town of Arayat. The place from which the mountain was lifted was marked by a depression. This is now the Candaba Swamp. Once in its new location, the mountain became the home of the strong giant. Now, it happened that many towns away there was a group of mountains, the Zambales Range. The giants in those mountains had a feud with a strong giant of Mount Arayat, one of whom was named Kargen Kargon. They started hurling rocks at the home of the Zambales giants, and this hit many places along the mountain range. Hence, Zambales Range today is broken and jagged along the top. The Zambales giant, on the other hand, hurled only 2 rocks at Mount Arayat, but they hit too hard that they knocked off the summit of the mountain. This is why the top of Mount Arayat is flat and irregular, unlike that of Mount Mayon, which it once resembled. After many years, the giants of Mount Arayat died, and an old enchanter called Sinukuan came to live near the top of the mountain. His home was a great white rock bigger than a church. Although the enchanter lived hundreds of years ago, travelers can still see his home. This is why on the top of Mount Arayat, on the west side of it, travelers many miles away can see a white spot which looks like a patch on a horse's forehead. This is the so-called White Stone, where Sinukuan lived with his three daughters, until he was driven away by a civilization to seek shelter inside mountain forever. Many Varyo folks still say that sometime in the future, Sinukuan may come out again. Mount Arayat used to be the home of the Colorums who waited for Sinukuan to come out of his cave and to find a new paradise on earth for them. Sinukuan's three daughters were all named Maria, and some believe that Maria Makiling of Mount Makiling was one of them. All had long, beautiful hair like a tresses of the Virgin. Aside from being beautiful, they were industrious, and although their father was a rich lord who commanded all the beasts in the forest and owned all its fruitful trees, they would go out to neighboring towns and sell produce from their realm. Sometimes, they played tricks on the lowlanders. They would come to a poor woman's hut and propose to exchange their rice bran for rice or corn. Often they were refused, but they always went away without anger. However, a few, thinking that there must be something mysterious in the stranger's bargain, would even exchange valuables for the rice bran. When the three Marias had gone, these simple-minded folks would look at the rice bran and find that it had turned into gold. Has anyone seen the inside of Sinukuan's home in the Great White Stone? Often they had in the old days. The door of the fortress was wide open for visitors who might want to come in. Yet, no one would voluntarily go there. So afraid were the people of even coming near the rock. But simple-minded farmers who had not known evil were sometimes favored by Sinukuan and his daughters to come and visit them. They would wait unseen for a farmer at dusk. When he would be walking slowly home, and then suddenly stop him by putting all sorts of impediments in his path in such a way that his footsteps were led on and on to the big rock. Once he is there, Sinukuan and his daughters would reveal themselves and take the guest to a chamber whose floorings and walls were of solid gold. He would be forcibly offered a repast on a gold plate matched by gold knives and spoons. If he partook of the repast, his body and soul as well as his mind became the property of Sinukuan, and he never would like to leave the place again. If, however, he declined until he wasted away, the old man and his daughters would take pity on him and send him back to his family with precious gifts. The Mount Arayat legend may be dismissed today as a myth, but it is based on facts elaborated on by the minds of the people. If you go to the mountain today, you will still find the great white stone as big as a church. You will also see the flattened top of Mount Arayat, where the rocks from the Zambales giant are supposed to have landed. Even now, woodcutters walk carefully about the former home of Sinukuan. They do not point unnecessarily at strange insects, animals, or trees for fear of offending the grand old man of the mountain. Let us answer the following questions. Plan a creative work that expresses their own story, identity in their community using appropriate local artistic elements. I'm going to help you as you plan and create your own artistic work. This project is all about expressing your unique story or identity in relation to our community. You'll get to use local artistic elements that are meaningful to you. Let's get started on this exciting journey together. Materials: construction paper or recycled materials. Crayons, markers, paint, optional. Simple musical instruments, optional. Shakers, bells, or drums. Props related to the chosen legend, optional. Cardboard boxes and fabric scraps for costume elements, optional, depending on presentation style, or any local and available materials. Number 1. Choose your story. We're going to brainstorm some local legends and folklore from our province or region. You can choose from stories we've talked about in previous lessons or come up with something new. I might also share some popular legends for you to consider, and then you all can help decide which ones we want to explore further. Number 2. Choose your medium. Choose the medium through which you communicate with your community, focusing on its cultural identity. It can be performance art, visual art, or a combination of both. It can be role-playing, puppet, interactive story narration. Number 3. Divide the scene. Now, let's take the legend or folklore we've chosen and break it down into 4 to 5 important scenes. I will divide you into groups based on how many scenes we have. Each group will choose one part to reenact. Remember, your performance should be no longer than 2 minutes, and together, we'll aim for a total of 10 minutes for the whole class performance. Number 4. Create an outline. Let's discuss how we can use different art forms like music, theater, dance, and visual arts to bring each scene to life. I want you to summarize everything we talk about in an outline. Make sure to write down your ideas on how you plan to present the story. Remember, you can include at least 2 different art forms in your creative work. Letter A. Make your visual art. It's time to create a visual representation of your story. Think about the colors, shapes, and overall layout you want to use to convey different emotions. Also, consider using symbolism to add deeper meaning to your artwork. Letter B. Add your own music. I want you to use your own voices when you share your parts of the story. Feel free to play around with different tones, pitches, and volumes to make it more exciting. You can also add sound effects to enhance your performance. And don't forget, background music is encouraged to make your narration even more interactive. Letter C. Dance and movement. I want you to choreograph a dance piece that really brings your narrative to life. Remember, movement is a powerful way to express ideas, so feel free to combine your dance with gestures and facial expressions to tell your story. Let your creativity shine through your movements. Letter D. Theater. Now, it's time to practice. Focus on your body language and facial expressions to really convey your characters. You can also work on your dialogue delivery if you'd like, but it's optional. Let's make sure we express ourselves clearly and confidently. The greatest performance of my community. In your groups, it's time to practice for your creative performance that showcase the cultural identity of our community. I want you to think about how to present the story in the most creative and artistic way possible. Let's get ready to shine and show off all the hard work you've put in. Let's have an activity. In your groups, you will perform your creative work that tells the story of our community's cultural identity. I want you to present it in the most artistic and imaginative way you can. Let's make it memorable performance. Materials needed. Any materials to be used in your performance. Lights, camera, action. Lights, set up the performance area, arrange the stage, props, costumes, and similar items. Camera, position the camera of the best angle to video record the performance. This will help document and grade the performance. Action, after setting up, begin the presentation.